Attention now to Massachusetts, where a judge has revoked bail for Aiden Kearney, also known online as Turtleboy, after he was hit with some new charges.
Yeah, reports say the controversial blogger was arrested Tuesday and charged with assault and battery of a member of a household and intimidation of a witness.
Prosecutors say that he shoved his ex-girlfriend, who was a witness in the ongoing murder investigation of a Boston police officer, John O'Keefe. Now, investigators believe O'Keefe was killed by his girlfriend, Karen Reed, outside of a home back in January of 2022.
Let's listen now as our Court TV's own Shanley Painter has a closer look at the case.
John O'Keefe was a good cop, and he was a good man. That's why my client was with him.
Karen Reed is accused of causing the death of her boyfriend, Boston police officer John O'Keefe, after a night of heavy drinking. Prosecutors claim Reed backed her car into O'Keefe during a snowstorm and left him to die. But Reed's defense says the Commonwealth has it all wrong.
With each new piece of evidence that comes in, we're more and more convinced of my client's innocence.
O'Keefe's snow-covered body was found outside the home of another officer in Canton, Massachusetts. According to the prosecution's statement of the case, the couple was invited to the house after the bars in downtown Canton closed. Witnesses told investigators they last saw the couple at the Waterfall Bar and Grill. Others said they saw a black SUV resembling Reed's parked outside the house, but never saw O'Keefe come inside. Reed told investigators that she dropped him off at the after party and never heard from him again.
She went home to take care of the kids, and then she called him 49 times. Where are you? Why aren't you back? She was the one to go back to that residence to look for him. She was the one to find him. She was the one to try and keep him warm and give him CPR and try and revive him.
But Norfolk County prosecutors question those actions. They claim voicemails and text messages detail strains in the relationship and the victim's desire to end their relationship, including a voicemail from the night he died in which Reed allegedly told O'Keefe that she hated him. Also, O'Keefe's niece and nephew who lived with him allegedly told police that the couple fought constantly about the relationship and breaking up before his death. Prosecutors point to a broken taillight on Reed's SUV, pieces of which were allegedly found near O'Keefe's body, to suggest she ran her car into him. A forensic pathologist opined that significant blunt force trauma injuries occurred prior to Mr. O'Keefe becoming hypothermic. Cuts and bruises were found on O'Keefe's head and arm.
Somebody being hit by a car, I would submit, does not look like they had been punched out by Mike Tyson. And the victim here looked like he had been punched out by Mike Tyson.
Reed's lawyer, David Yannetti, says his client is not responsible for O'Keefe's injuries.
I believe that the evidence shows that she didn't hit him. I've said in the past that his injuries are not consistent with being hit by a vehicle. And by the way, the Lexus taillight breaking, coming in contact with a human being and not a hard surface, makes no sense to me. I think it's going to make no sense to a jury.
If not Reed, who? Her lawyer says that there's a lot they still don't know.
This is a case where the homeowner, being a Boston police officer, was treated differently than he would have been if he were you or me.
Reed is due back in court January 5th for a pretrial hearing, and of course, Court TV will be there covering that for you. Still with us, we have criminal defense attorneys Lori McMurray and Eklund Mercy. Lori, let me start with you, please. This Turtleboy, he keeps coming up. We know there was witness tampering that he was charged with. The grand jury returned even more charges against him, and now this separate domestic incident he's been charged with. And I question the motive or why he's so passionately involved defending Karen Reed in this case.
I think we can all question that motive, but he reminds me of like the First Amendment auditors where he's going out there and he gets a little bit of attention and he tries really hard to maintain that same level of attention. And he got a little bit overzealous. He got some attention. He was on Court TV one night when I was on with Vinnie Politan. So he got the attention. He was doing some good work, but then it just didn't become enough for him. He kept pushing and really either truly believes in her innocence or truly believes in the fame and the notoriety that comes along with being in the position that he was in. And he just got carried away with it and took it a little too far.
He really hasn't shied away from being a controversial figure when it comes to this quest that many people have joined to say that this charge against Karen Reed is unjust. Now, as you mentioned, Lori, he's been on Court TV before. We have a clip of him responding to those witness tampering charges that relate to the murder trial, so separate from the new domestic violence charges that are reportedly against him now. But let's take a listen back to what he had to say about why he was being scrutinized for the witness tampering.
Every morning I film myself at the bus stop. I live stream myself at the bus stop because if the police are going to pick me up again, which they probably will, there's talk about indictment, they're probably going to do it in front of the kids because they want maximum shock effect. They want to basically demoralize you and make it so that you don't want to continue. But so I film it every day just in case they do show up this time. Last time they caught me unprepared. This time I won't be. So getting by.
Eklund, he says that he's the one who is being targeted because he is coming against prosecutors and police and these charges on behalf of Karen Reed. Your thoughts?
Oh, men with podcasts. I think that I've seen it often. It's like you have, just a little justified. You feel justified, and it takes you on a road. Fame is a hell of a drug, and once you get a little bit of taste of it, it just takes you to wherever. And he just needs a few therapy sessions. I think that it's great that it happened before trial, that he's been, I think that putting him on ice is definitely necessary so that Miss Reed can have a proper trial. But it happens often. It sucks, but it happens often.
And I think that description fits what a lot of viewers have thought as well as they're watching. But back to the Karen Reed part, Lori, and the fact that so many believe she's innocent and this is a cover-up by the Boston Police Department. This is one in which I see that evidence could go either way, not having seen all of the evidence yet. What do you think? Do you think she has a pretty good case to say, it wasn't me, I'm going to point the finger, it's a cover-up?
Listen, I did a deep dive on this case whenever I was making a video about it, and it led me to Turtleboy. That's where I got a lot of my information. So I think anybody who is following this case and trying to read up on what the allegations of police misconduct are will lead you to him. But the problem is that we're taking those allegations that he makes and we're reading those and we're not looking at the state side because the state doesn't have a blogger. He's outside the courtroom rallying troops. He's been there with his megaphone. You see him there in that photo, rallying them up, asking for chance for Karen Reed. And it's a great support system for her. But now we get to focus on what the law actually is, and we get to focus on having a just trial, which she should want just as much as the state should want. That's all any attorney, whether you're state or defense, should want, is a just and fair trial. And having that circus outside the courtroom is showing a little bit of bias, and definitely would be some pretrial publicity that would maybe hurt or hinder a fair trial.
You absolutely don't want to get in the way of a fair trial. There have been some scrutiny of Turtleboy for making comments when the family of this murdered cop go into the courtroom and go into the courthouse. So definitely don't want a circus, just like Lawyer Lori is saying. But it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, but it's almost like we have two different trials going on right now.
I agree. And at the end of the day, it's about the victim. So regardless of who you think did it, there's no reason to talk smack or do anything else negative about the victim or the victim's family.
The thing is, I real quick, the cops kind of started it. Remember, in the first couple of hearings, there were police officers like suffocating suffocating Miss Reed, and they looked angry, and they needed to be backed off. People needed, she needed security away from police officers. So I believe that if we have a demonstration outside, it's direct in response to how officers acted in the preliminary stages of this case.
And this is why it's going to be such a great trial, because of the passionate both sides of this case that you all have just described.